right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another new episode of Keto Rocks, and we're your hosts. I'm Jim Hobbs, and to my right or left, depending on how you're looking at the screen, is Mr. Is he there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, Brian Forsythe. There he is. There he is. Anyway, how's things going, Brian?
Pretty good.
Yeah, so why don't you share some of the meals you have cooked for yourself this week so people can get some ideas of what Brian eats during the summer months of June, or summer month of June, I should say.
Well, yeah, this week was kind of were a few odds and ends meals. They weren't like my usuals. In fact, I have a whole freezer full of frozen stuff, and sometimes I have trouble deciding what I'm going to make, and I need to pull it out so it thaws in time to make it. And a lot of times I'll start to think about what am I going to make tomorrow, and then get sidetracked and forget, and then it'll be time to go to bed, and I'll go, oh man, I never pulled anything out of the freezer. So, a few times when something like that will happen, I'll just go for something that thaws a little quicker, like a piece of like the sockeye salmon, that wild salmon. I have a whole bin full of those things. But yeah, in fact, one of my meals this week was coho salmon. I get both sockeye and coho, and so I made a dish. It was salmon with bacon wrapped shrimp on one of those Belgian-sized chaffles. You probably saw the picture, and then I made this. Well, in my true to my style, just winging it, I made this cream sauce, and because I bought some heavy cream the last time I picked up my meat order at this place in Hendersonville, and I just don't care for the cream in my coffee, so it's just been in my refrigerator. I'm trying to think of ways to use it. So I thought, well, I'll make a cream sauce for the fish. And it was a semi-fail. I mean, it still tasted fine, but I think I should have put the cream in right at the end. Like I put it in too soon, and then I dumped some Parmesan cheese in there on top of it, and then I turned away to do something. I think put the shrimp on the dish or something, and when I turned back, it was brown. It wasn't cream. And it was like,
but it still tasted good.
But
you can't go wrong with Parmesan cheese and cream.
No. Yeah, the flavor was good. It just looked like this brown glop on top of my fish. And then I tried to make a poached egg because the place I get my eggs are, their ducks aren't laying right now, so I can't get duck eggs. I have to get chicken eggs, and they don't poach. They're harder to poach. So I tried to poach one of those, and I put it in the water, and the yolk and the white separated. So I had two things floating around. So it's just like a plain yolk and then a chunk of white. It was kind of.
So are duck eggs? Are they not laying because it's just the season for them not to lay, or they just don't lay when it gets like above a certain degrees? If it's hot outside, they don't like the. What do you know why?
You know what? I don't know, but I know this happened last year, so it's a seasonal thing. But she said they're nesting, whatever that means. So I guess when they're nesting, they're not laying. So I have to switch over to the chicken. But her chicken eggs are really good too for chickens.
Yeah, we actually go pick up my eggs at Whiffletree Farm in Warrenton, and I always call them because they're a working farm. I don't like to get the egg and already put it in their store in the refrigerator. I like to have them before because I leave our eggs out in the garage. I don't put them in the refrigerator until I've actually opened up a carton because they last longer. So I always call and ask them if they picked up their eggs for today. Now, typically during the cooler months, they pick them up between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning, and they open up at 11. So I always show up at 11, and they'll usually give me a basket, and I can fill my cartons up with the eggs. I say this because their chicken eggs, their jumbo eggs for the chicken are almost as big, if not as big as duck eggs. The other duck eggs, I don't know how you buy them. I think it's half a dozen for $5, and the chicken eggs are $5 for a full dozen. So when I get a chance to, and I should be saying, when I go, I get a chance to I pick the big eggs and make my dozen out of the big chicken eggs I can have in it. So they're really like jumbo size eggs, and so I'm paying the same amount of money. And in my thought, I'm getting twice as many eggs as I can if I just purchase the duck eggs. I do the duck eggs once in a while, but I just feel like I can get so many more eggs for the same amount of money. So
Yeah, it makes sense. I just like the duck egg. I like the consistency of the duck egg. It's just thicker and creamier, and after eating duck eggs for so long, going back to chicken eggs is always like, they break a little too easy, and they don't poach very well, but they still taste all right. But there is something about a duck egg. It's just a little bit more richness to the flavor too. There's something about it. I really like them. Oh, the other thing.
now, how many? Now, yeah, go
Huh?
ahead.
I was going to say the other thing this
No, I was gonna
week.
say.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't want to
Go
change.
ahead.
I don't want to change the subject if you had something.
No. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, you're asking me about this week. We were talking before you started recording. I got a Traeger grill yesterday. Um, I got it for free, which is amazing. So anyway, I got to cook a steak tonight. It's my first uh, time using it. And if somebody's watching and they don't know what a Traeger grill is, it's like the Cadillac of grills, and it's a pellet smoker. It uses wood pellets instead of coals or whatever else they use. I guess some smokers use you can even put logs in there, but
Real wood. Yeah, real wood.
so I just cooked the steak tonight just to try it out to see how it works. It's different, but it works well. I can't wait to. And I have my briskets in the refrigerator right now, thawing out. So maybe by the weekend, I'll be doing. It's a full size. It's like 19 inches. It's huge. I can't wait.
Yeah, no more you cutting meats in half or having to funnel or to do the charcoal and dump it into your smoker and go through. You're going to save so many hours of time you spent smoking the way you have been smoking on that Weber. Nothing against the Weber, because I have a Weber too, but you're going
Well,
to love your Traeger.
yeah, that Weber works great when it's working, but it's just so inconsistent. I never know. It depends on the weather. It depends on like all kinds of stuff. So it's like you never know what's going to happen, and nothing's worse than trying to time it out. Like that happens to me has happened to me so many times on that Weber where I'll get up at like 4:45 or 5:45 in the morning to go down there and get the thing started so that it'll be done by the time I'm going to eat my meal, and then have it something go wrong. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And then it's like 11 o'clock at night before it's done.
I know I had to, every time I watched when I watched your episode the other day when you were trying to do the ribs and that happened, the temperature wouldn't get to where you need to be. You finally pulled them off. I was reliving. I think I've shared this story with you. I don't think I've heard it publicly, but my family Thanksgiving, smoking fiasco. Uh, and so every time I watch that, I see that happen to you. I'm like literally reliving that moment in my life and know how terrible it is. Like you're hungry, you want to have the food, you've started so early in the morning, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. So I showed my wife, I told her to watch your episode. So we watched it on the porch, and she's like, so brings back memory, deja vu of our family Thanksgiving 20 years ago, and that smoker doesn't want to, and I don't know why it does either, but it doesn't want to get to the temperature that you need it to get to, and you invested. Here's the sad part for people who don't really understand the whole smoking thing. If you smoke once you've had smoked meat that you've done yourself, there's something of an accomplishment, and it tastes so good. It's like I best I can relate it to you people who are watching, maybe golfers. Like if you have one good shot, you want to come back and try the game that's really kicked your butt the whole day. But one good shot causes you enough for you to want to go try again. When you have a good piece of smoked meat or a good piece of brisket or ribs that you smoked yourself, it's just there's no greater accomplishment and no fulfilling in your stomach. But when you invest your whole day, and I understand where Brian's coming from because I've done the same thing. You get up in the morning and you're going to do everything right, and by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to have yourself this great mouth-watering piece of meat, and then at 5 o'clock you realize you're still not even halfway there. You go to plan B, which is yank it off, wrap it up, put it in your own oven, and like you said, next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. You got to let it rest for an hour. And your whole day is shot. You're starving. You can't even have what you've worked all day for. And then this is my story. When I burn the brisket and I come into it, and it's like that turkey on Christmas vacation. It just goes. Poosh.
Oh.
There's nothing left of the meat.
Oh, that's too bad.
You gotta go to plan C, which is to break open a couple eggs and have cheesy eggs to get through your hunger. It's such a defeating, and to me, I'm like, I can't believe this brisket has done me in, and this smoker has done me in one more time. So,
yeah.
And for you people out there who can relate to that story, listen, don't give up. Just get back on the grill and learn from your mistakes. That's what I'm going to do. So, Brian, you said you got this big brisket. So how do you intend to cook it on your Traeger this time? It's a little bit different for you.
Well, it's going to be the same technique because I think I've gotten the smoking thing down. When everything goes right, it works perfectly. But it's just I think with those ribs, what happened was because it was such a big rack of ribs, and I had to cut it in half. And it's still, only half would fit on one of the racks inside that Weber because it's so small. So I had to double stack it. And I think just having all that inside that smoker, it just soaked up all the heat. I think that may be why the heat wouldn't get up to temperature after that. But I think I've gotten the techniques down as far as like a brisket or like I also have a what you call it, the ribeye roast in there too that I'm going to do at some point. Actually, I've never messed up a ribeye roast. Both times I've made those, they've turned out perfect. So I the only thing this Traeger grill is a little bit different because I think it's a little drier in there too. I got to remember to put some water in there with it to keep the moisture up because the way the air circulates in there, it's a little more dry. But other than that,
convection oven. It's like a convection. It's like a convection oven. Now the model I have is the small one. I don't have room to put like in my master built. I have room to add water so it stays moist. Moist. There is no place on my small Traeger. Is there a place on the big one that you have to put water or vinegar in it?
If I had to put like if that brisket takes up the whole whole surface, I still have that second rack I could put in there, the upper rack, and put the water up there, I guess, if I need to.
Yeah, I have one rack, so I don't have a room to do that.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about this one that I got. The one that I ordered that I was gonna get before they told me they were going to send me the good one for free. That was just a stationary bottom rack, and I think it did have another rack on top. This one has the rack on top. You can move it back or forward. It's got back and forth movement, and the bottom rack it fits in these slots, but then you can pull it out of the slots and put it further down, like right over top that whatever that little slanted tray is underneath, but so you can lower it down closer to the heat.
Now, you still have the grease, the slant thing that catches the grease and runs out, to still have the little bucket on the side
Yeah,
to
yeah.
catch all the grease drippings? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same. It's like the one that I was gonna get to begin with had the little smokestack. I think yours might have one. Does yours have the
I don't
smokestack?
have a smokestack. No, I don't. I do not have. The one I was watching on a video earlier today had a smokestack, but mine does not have a smokestack. Does
Okay.
yours have it?
No, no, the ironwood doesn't. It's just got a vent in the back where the heat comes out or the smoke.
Yeah, that's what mine does as well.
But it works pretty good.
You're
It's
gonna love it.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna be fun to mess with. When you crank the temperature, it just goes. I mean, it's like really fast. It's not like that Weber thing. Anytime you mess with it, like you'd have to wait. Like even if you mess with the little vents on the sides a little bit, you have to give it like 15 minutes before it settles into wherever you were aiming, and to even see if it hits the right spot. It's just like this whole weird thing. Like any little thing you mess with on a Weber, you have to wait for 15, 20 minutes to find out what it's gonna do. And actually
Well,
I
I got
found
a
out.
question for you. So hopefully,
Huh?
go ahead. What were you saying, Brian? I
Oh,
said I
I
had
was
a question for you, but go ahead. You're gonna make a comment, a statement.
Yeah, I was just gonna add on something about the Weber. It was like when it would work right, the best way to deal with it was just to not touch it, just leave it alone. And because a lot of times it would drop, but then it would come right back up where it's supposed to be. And as long as I didn't mess with it, it would sort of even itself out, you know.
So I was going to ask you a question. I want to know for myself as well. So I know you have some really nice knives and utensils that you use to cut your brisket and your ribs that you break out. And I know you use butcher paper instead of aluminum foil. And where can you pick is butcher paper the same as parchment paper?
No, no, butcher paper is the thick. It's like thick. Parchment paper is it's almost like wax paper, but
Yeah,
but you
that's
can cook with it.
correct.
And I use parchment paper for baking well, I don't bake anymore, but back when I used to make cookies and stuff. But butcher paper, it's like this. In fact, hang on a second, let me grab it.
Sure.
I use this. It's pink color because you got to make sure because some butcher paper. Uh, there's some kinds that have wax on one side and it's just paper on the other. This is paper on both sides. You don't want wax. But this is, let me see if I can pull it out. I'll show
Now, do you order that off of Amazon, or do you just get that at Kroger's or something, like the grocery store, or can you have to order it off of Amazon?
Yeah, I ordered it online. But when I used to work for my brother painting signs, this is basically what we used. Well, no, I guess it wasn't quite this thick. But we would get the big rolls of paper, like they're 4 foot, and they were like that big around of paper. And then we'd have another roll that was about the size of this one, about the 2 foot. And that's what we'd roll it out and make the sign patterns with.
Yeah, so
But the paper, you were asking about the butcher paper. I do still use foil sometimes to wrap. It depends on it. Like some of them, like those ribs called for wrapping it tightly. Like if you don't have to wrap it tight, if it's just a loose wrap, butcher paper works really well. Or it also works well when it's done and you want it to rest, and you can wrap it in the paper and then like sort of stick it in the oven so it doesn't like cool off too fast.
yeah, I was watching the Oklahoma barbecue. I don't know what one of those YouTube channels, and he is cooking 75 briskets, and he was saying that he doesn't even use aluminum foil. He highly recommends butcher paper. He says, I can't tell you why, but the meat seems to taste better when I wrap it in butcher paper as opposed to aluminum foil. So I no longer use aluminum foil. I use butcher paper for all my wrappings of my meats.
Yeah, there is something about it. It works well.
Now, I know with parchment paper is good to up to 400 degrees, and after that, it can catch fire. So, but butcher paper is heat resistant to 500 degrees. Do you know what what it's rated for temperature wise?
Well, if you're, it's, I've only used it for the slow cook. So, it's usually between, like 225 and 275. I've never taken it. I wouldn't use it for like a 500-degree temperature cook. It's mostly for the lower temperatures.
Now, do you have a it looks like you have a real expensive slicing knife, or you have, and then you have a deboning knife, or is it just an old? You're laughing. Is it just a?
I don't have good knives. In fact, I just said that on maybe in my video. I forget. Oh, I know. Somebody commented on my last video. They asked me, they go, is that a Miracle Blade? And I'm like, unfortunately, yes. Yeah, these knives, when I first got them, they were really sharp and they worked great, but they just will not hold like I have a sharpening, one of those things that you go,
Sharpening stones
it's
or
not a stone,
the
but
sharpening rod. Yeah.
yeah. And I'll sharpen it, and then like halfway through whatever I'm doing, it needs to be sharpened again. It just will not hold a sharp, the edge. And maybe because they're getting old, they're several years old now, or
Yeah,
actually more.
I was going to place an order to. Matter of fact, I am going to place an order. I was looking at. He actually the guy I was watching the smokes the brisket was. He put the links to his knives that he uses, and he was talking about he has one deboning knife, and so I looked it up online. It's like $13. I go, okay, I'm good with that. And then he had this other knife. And I kid you not, looks like the same knife, except that it was $175 professional deboning knife that he said, look, this is one you want to have. This is what you want to use when you're serious about cutting the meat that you've worked so hard to smoke. He says, but you want to be very careful with it. The other you want to use for most weight cutting, because if it falls on the floor, you can be a little bit more rough with it. You're not going to be, oh my gosh, damaging my $175 knife. I don't think I could ever be comfortable with a $175 knife. So I will be buying the $13 deboning knife. And then he had another bread knife that I think was $22, which I'm okay with. And then the butcher paper I found, which was a pretty big roll. I think it was $22 or $24 for a pretty big roll. And then when I get really serious, I'll get the little holder that, like a paper towel holder.
Oh yeah, like they have
the
it.
paper on and the butcher, yeah. Where
You pull it out.
and I love that. Yes, yeah, and I love that. For some reason, I love the sound when they do that. When I'm at the butcher, they wrap it and they pull it and they put it on that block and they put the meat and the way they wrap it up, and they all got the same motions. They went to the same school to learn how to wrap that meat. I just love the crackling of the paper, how it rattles. It just has a different sound. I've always been fascinated and loved the sound of a butcher wrapping fresh meat. So the fact that I'm going to actually have butcher paper in my own house may sound stupid to some, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah. But as far as knives
So
go,
what's your?
I was going to say about the knife thing. Like that, the guy that I follow, Aaron Franklin, he just got a couple knives that he uses. He doesn't like to have a whole set. It's like maybe three that his main knives, and one is just a kind of a thick blade, but it's kind of long, like 9 inches or something. I think he said is his main knife, and then like a bread slicer knife, which my little wood block has one of the actually two of those in there, and that's what I used to slice with is a bread knife. But and then I guess he does have another smaller like deboning or one that you can cut off gristle or whatever.
Cartilage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, what's your favorite meal? Let's take the Traeger out of it for right now. But what's your favorite meal to be carnivore meal that you like to cook during the summer when it's hot outside? What's your favorite meal that you gravitate to?
Well, for one thing, the weather really doesn't affect me. I cook on the grill all year round. Uh, that's one of my main ways of cooking. And luckily, I have a little overhang down there, so I can wheel my grill underneath there if it's raining or something. But wow, favorite one? Man, there's so many. Um, I mean, well, the thing is, the brisket. I tried making a brisket early on when I first moved here. And it was the first brisket, and I messed it up, of course, because I tried to do it on the Weber gas grill. I didn't have my smoker yet, and it dried it out, and it didn't work. You can't smoke something on a gas grill; it just doesn't work. At least I couldn't get it to work. So this last brisket I made was only my second attempt, but I'd already made a few ribeye roasts in between, and I think, well, brisket is actually my favorite. I love it, and but I've only made it twice, so I can't wait to make this third one. But the other one, a close second, is the ribeye roast, because that's fairly easy and it pretty much cooks itself. There's not a whole lot involved. One time, the second time I made it, I tried something different because I always do a reverse sear. I'll slow cook it all day, or not all day. I forget how many hours. Slow cook it at between 225 and 250 until the internal temperature gets to, what does it get to? I can't remember. I forget, but anyway, to wherever it gets to where it's supposed to be. And then the first time I brought it up into the kitchen and just put it in the broiler in my oven, and cranked it up to 500 for like 15 minutes, and just to get the outside burnt and crispy. And that worked great. That was perfect. And it tasted great. The second time I wanted to do the whole thing on the smoker. So when I got done the low and slow cook, I took my little Weber, the little bullet thing. I took it all apart. And I just had the little bottom bowl with the coals, and I put the rack right on top of the coals, and put that ribeye roast on there, and try to sear it that way, just straight on the coals. And it seared it, but that one had a little bit of an exhaust flavor to it, so that wasn't the right way to do it. The coals were a little, yeah. So
Burnt smoke is what you added burnt smoke to it.
yeah, it wasn't right. It wasn't right. So, but the inside was beautiful. But yeah, so I wouldn't do it on the coals like that again. But this Traeger will be fun to experiment with.
So just so everybody, including myself in this question, so when you do a Texas style brisket, it's taking the brisket out, trimming the fat down, and the only seasoning you're using, and jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just salt and pepper on the brisket itself, and then you're go ahead and tell everybody, walk people through what you're doing with the brisket so they know, so they can try it themselves.
Yeah, I don't remember. Was it just salt and pepper? I think it was. It may have. You know what? I take that back. It's mainly black pepper and sea salt, but there's a little bit of garlic and onion powder involved. And I bought Redmond Redmond's real salt makes they make a mix. It's called garlic pepper, and it's
I
salt,
might have
pepper,
that. Still.
garlic, and onion, and it's in a big shaker jar. So I got one of those, so I could just use that on my brisket next time. I don't have to worry, because the only black pepper I had was in a grinder. So every time I'd make a rub, I'd have to sit there going, grinding that grinder for like 10 minutes to get like this little tiny bit of pepper. So now I got the shaker, I can just shake it on there. But if you watch those, that Aaron Franklin guy, he's really good, and it's real simple. It's nothing complicated. You know, like some people get crazy with rubs and you know, all kinds of stuff. In fact, he didn't even, you know, some people put olive oil on the meat before they sprinkle it. I did that with the ribs, but with
Right.
the brisket, it's just straight on. There's nothing underneath the stuff you sprinkle on. It's just the meat. But yeah, and this
Now, one of the
I was going to say the trimming part too. Um, I don't trim as much sometimes. Like they'll tell you to trim all the way down like a 1/4 inch. I leave a little bit more because I like it. I like fat, so I don't trim it down as far. But
now one of the guy I was watching today, which I'm going to start incorporating in brisket smoking, is that you want to cut against the grain. It's hard to find out where the grain is once you have it smoked because it's so black. So he literally cuts the part off before he wraps it or before he puts it on the smoker, so he knows where he's going to cut. Now this was interesting. You may already know this, Brian. He basically said there's 2 lines to cut on a brisket. So there's the flat part, and you're going to cut against the grain, and then all of a sudden it's going to switch directions for you. So he cuts up to that part, then he turns around and he switches and goes the opposite direction of the grain for that piece, which is I think the point or the
yeah,
head or something. I forget.
yeah, the flat you slice it across, and then when you get to the point, it's a 90-degree angle. It's like
Right. That's it. Yep.
yeah.
So I'm going to. I have not. I have not done that in the past. I've just gone once I start cutting it. This is the way I'm going to go. So I will. I learned something new today. So I am definitely looking forward. So all right. So let's just go through this scenario. I want people to understand how to do this, so people can try it and let us know how it turns out for them. So they do the salt and pepper. They want to add sea salt, garlic, onion. They want to buy the Redmond already packaged seasoning that has all the stuff in it. They're going to trim a little bit of the fat off. Oh, he's going to go get us. He's going to go get the spices. Does he have it?
I was going to show you. Let me get in the light again. I'm over here in the dark. So this is the. You can't even see the label out.
It is the organic garlic pepper. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a nice. It's a
So
nice
you
dip.
cover. Ooh. So you're just covering the brisket liberally with that seasoning, and then all you're going to do then is put it on your smoker. And what do you have your smoker temperatures going at before you place the meat on the smoker?
Somewhere between 225. It's weird because now that I have this Traeger, you can dial it in. With the Weber, I sort of have to settle to wherever it would get to. But it's usually I aim for between 225 and 250 is what I want. And going back to this rub, really on a brisket, you don't really have to like completely saturate it with this. You can just do a light coating all around, and it's like the guy explains. There's a difference between the way like beef will the outside will cook and pork. And pork you have to be a little bit more even and get an even coat. This you can sort of just sprinkle on, and it'll still whatever you do, it'll turn out great. It's like beef is a little bit more forgiving.
Forgiving, yeah. So you put your seasoning on. Now you're not wrapping. You don't wrap your brisket. You're putting your brisket right on the smoker, and you're going to let the internal temperature of that brisket get to where before you pull it off and wrap it.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, the temperature probe is very important because I go by temperature and not by time because like the other day I had those ribs I was trying to go by time and it completely backfired. But going by temperature, you always know what's going on, and you want it to get up to 160. So you bring it up to 160, and that's where you wrap it. And then I mean, you can actually, you don't have to wrap it, but a lot of times that's about where it'll stall out, is around 160, 165. And by wrapping it, it sort of, it'll get it over the hump and take it further. And you want to take it up to around 203 is what I usually aim for.
3, yeah.
Like between 200 and 203, but I mean, 200 is good if that's as far as it gets. Like, like again, going back to the Weber, but I'm sure on this Traeger, it'll get up to 203, no problem, with that dialing it in.
Now, typically, so people understand the reason why you and other smokers like mine get up so early in the morning. So typically, how long does this process take? I know we're not talking about time, but just so people understand, this isn't like, hey, we're going to do this in an hour and have brisket. This is typically a 10-hour to 14-hour process.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because I go by temperature. A lot of times I'm not paying attention. I'll have to go back and luckily a lot of times I document it on a video and I can look at the timestamp because I'll get up at 5:45, but I might not get the meat on there until like 8:30. By the time I trim it and mess with it and get the coals started and all that junk, an hour and a half or 2 hours will go by without me even realizing it. And then at the end of the day, I'm thinking, man, I put it on so early. How come it's not done? And then I realized, no, it's like 2 hours later than what I thought. So, well, it depends on the size of the meat too. A full-size brisket's going to take, God, I don't even know, maybe 8 hours, maybe more. I forget. I don't remember.
Anyway, the safe thing is to just know it's going to take let's just say 8 to 14 hours, but take the temperature thing and they got them that reads right to your phone. I'm sure Brian's got one that reads right to he knows exactly when the alarm goes off that the food's ready to go to.
Well, that Traeger comes with a probe, but I also have that one's connected with a wire. This is the one. It's in this little charging block, but it's called a meter, and that has it connects to your phone. So you can stick it looks like this. Looks like a pen. You just stick it right in the meat, and then it'll measure the outside temperature from this end, and then the internal meat temperature on that end. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, that is cool.
And there's no wire, so you can pull it out and leave it in. You can leave that in the meat after you wrap it even.
Now, how do you store yours? So do you store yours? Do you have vacuum a sealed bag, or you just wrap it and put it back in the fridge?
I'm trying to remember what I put in, because the last one wasn't as big as this one. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this one, but I think I just put it in I have like one of those Corningware baking dishes with a lid. I think I just put it in there, put the lid on, put it in the fridge, or maybe wrapped it in foil and put it inside that. But and the slicing, that Aaron Franklin guy talks about the thickness of the slices too. He goes by like the flat. He slices a little thinner than the point, and the flat he says it's about pencil thickness of like a pencil, and then when you get to the point, it's a little thicker, like a fat pencil or.
That makes sense. I even forgot the fat pencil, but as soon as you said it, it came to my mind.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, those big old pencils! Wow, I haven't seen one of those in a while. All right, well that's how you do brisket. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're watching this, to go out. Follow, if you can, what we've been saying to do for your brisket. And I'd love to see you guys post videos of your brisket on the Ketos on our Facebook page, or even if you can post it or comment that you did it, how it turned out. And let's just share. If you have a different recipe you've come up, if you've massaged a step in making your brisket, let us know what it is. We'd love to hear a way that you love cooking your brisket or smoking your brisket.
Yeah, because everybody's got their own way of doing it, and some people, discovered their own little secrets, which is cool.
No, it's the only way that we can try something that we've never had, when somebody shares what they did that nobody else has done before, and who knows, it could make an improvement on how the brisket is. But all this brisket talk has me salivating, so I will definitely go get. Brian's already got his. Oh, you know what? I got my half a cow. I got my half a cow coming, so I will have brisket.
Oh yeah.
So yes, I got my half a cow coming by Friday. So what's it today? Yeah, so it should be here. So I have a half. So I do have a brisket coming. So I'll wait till that brisket comes. And
See, if you would
grass.
if you would have gotten the whole cow, you'd have 2 briskets.
Yeah, but I can't afford the whole cow.
Yeah, where do you put it?
I don't drink it. I don't drink the milk, so therefore I don't need the whole cow. I just need half a cow and 1 brisket. But I will report back and let everybody know how my brisket turns out, because so far I am if this is a sporting event, I am 0 with briskets, 1 twice, I've won 0. And I see all these. Brian keeps telling me how great it is when he does it, and it looks great. I watch other videos on how to do it. So if you go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna say, I got this Traeger grill, so of course the app has all these recipes and this and that, and there was like the beginner brisket, and I watched it, and it was kind of like what you were telling me you did. Like, it tells you to put it in there at 500 to start, and I'm like, that's backwards.
Yeah, that's what I did. I followed that recipe.
Yeah, see, I go the opposite. I go low and slow first, and then I sear it at the end at a high temperature. That way it doesn't dry out. But that technique seems to work. I mean, I use that technique with steaks. I use it with the ribeye roast and with the brisket, and it works. And with the pulled pork as well. It seems to come out a little more moist.
I am looking. My wife constantly says you got to go low and slow. She goes, you're gonna dry it out. Well, that's where my patience that I do not have totally causes my brisket or anything else that I'm in a hurry to eat to be a total fail. So
yeah, you can't rush it.
Doing this, no, you can't. So this whole process has really caused me to really just chill out a lot and just learn to appreciate the journey instead of just like want to get straight to the destination. So I actually am appreciating and beginning to enjoy all the preparation that goes into it, which is the reason why after you've invested 15 hours and you have burnt brisket, dry brisket as the result, and $50 lighter in my wallet, it's just like you don't want to take that punch again. But I'm going to go get back in the ring, and I will let everybody know how this turns out. And Brian, hopefully next week we'll hear how your brisket on your new Traeger turned out.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to it by this weekend. It depends on when it thaws. Because I didn't pull it out till yesterday, because I wanted to make sure I actually got that grill before I pulled that thing out of the freezer. and I knew it wasn't gonna be my first cook on it, because I need to sort of warm up to the brisket. But
well, awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear how Brian's brisket turns out. I can't wait to hear what other people is able to do with smoking their own brisket, and I'll make sure I give you the honest truth of how my brisket comes out when I attempt it for the 3rd time. And if it's a fail, I will let you know. I don't think it will be this time. So with that being said, you got anything else you want to share with anybody, Brian, before we wrap it up?
Let me think. Not really. Wow. No.
Okay. No, it's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, until next week, stay well, stay healthy, and we will see you next Friday at 7 p.m. Have a great week, everybody.